is Heather Mcgregor. I live in British Columbia and in Western Canada, and I'm here to talk about my failures today because I've failed quite a bit in my adult life. I'm wondering if anyone can relate to that, if anyone else has experienced failure. So for a long, long time throughout this journey with those failures, I kept all of that hidden inside of myself. I kept it hidden from others, hidden from myself, and just kind of buried. I was kind of aware of the circumstances around these failures, but I was actually really, really skilled at just keeping it locked inside. I felt shame, I felt guilt, all kinds of things. And I share this piece of information about my journey because in order to help women to open up, what I need to share what happened for me, because this was a huge awakening and an opening for me in realizing that failure is actually one of the biggest gifts. It actually shows us what our path forward is. So I'm going to tell you a little story. I remember vividly the day that I handed in my resignation for my 9 to 5 job. So the decision to leave that job was not easy. I struggled with it for a long time, and my husband noticed my struggle. And one day he sat me down in my room and he gave me a piece of paper with 2 columns on it. One said reasons to leave and the other said reasons to stay. And he said, don't come out of the room until you've completed your list. So I closed the door and sat down. My reasons to leave the job was really, really, really long. And my reasons to stay had one item, and it was money. That was it. There was no other reason for me to stay there. So I handed in my resignation. So the very last day that I left my office, it was like this beautiful, sunny, blue sky, crisp fall day. And I left my office. I was like dancing down off to my commute home. It was my last day. I was super, super, super excited. There was this feeling of expansion and lightness and excitement and confidence for this amazing journey as a successful entrepreneur that I was about to go on. I was going to be my own boss, set my own hours, work with amazing clients, have amazing projects. So I set up my home office and I made some phone calls. I touched base with people from the work that I'd done previously. And at first it was great. And I had so many clients coming in, so much work coming. It was more than I could handle. But what I didn't have was a clear vision for my business. I just kind of took everything that came my way, didn't really have a focus or a strategy or a plan. I was just kind of flowing with it. And I was busy. So busy. I started to work really, really long hours. I worked late into the wee morning hours. And there was this one night, I remember this so vividly. It was about 3 a.m. All my family was sleeping and I was at my desk. I had a pink desk at the time with this really dim lamp. And I was working so hard on this web project. And I was really, really struggling with it because now that I was working for myself, I had no tech department, no IT people to call. I didn't have any colleagues to brainstorm with. And I was really struggling. And there was this moment where I could feel the stress. I wasn't going to make the deadline for this project. I was struggling to figure it out. And suddenly I had these tears coming out of my eye. And I can still, if I think about it, hear them hitting my keyboard. Those tears were falling. It hit me that I didn't have a plan. I hadn't created a business and I wasn't doing what I loved to do. So there was no passion in it for me. All I had done was taken my 9 to 5 job, left all the support in the team and done it all by myself and struggled without a plan for sustainability. So as quickly as the excitement of this new venture came into my life, it started to fade and I started to sink and to drop. It wasn't my passion and it wasn't sustainable. So suddenly the clients stopped coming in, no new projects were coming in, and consequently no money was coming in. I hadn't created a business. I had failed, right? And on top of all that, I was crazy burned out. So as you can imagine, the lack of income created a lot of stress in myself. It created a lot of stress in my marriage. And that overall sense of who I was and my confidence took a deep nosedive. I was spiraling downward pretty quickly. And everything in my life, everything that was going on around me reflected that reality back to me. And there was this one day where my husband and I had an argument about money and time and my plan or lack thereof a plan. And that conversation triggered this super deep intensity of emotions within me. All the pent up feelings of being a failure came rushing up. It was like a dam had burst open. There was all the shame, all the guilt, all the feelings of being a failure. And I could feel it like moving into every cell of my body. I felt like I was a little girl who was caught playing with something she was told not to play with. It was so vivid, so visceral. And for me, when I get stressed or off centered, I clean. That's just what I do. And so I went to wash some dishes. And I remember washing the dishes, and I felt like I was way far away, sort of watching this thing happen from a distance. And I had so much emotion swirling around me. And I started, without even realizing, I had a ceramic dinner plate, and I started smashing it in the sink because I had so much anger and shame and everything coming up. And it wasn't until I noticed that this soapy water was full of blood that this giant shard of ceramic had cut my hand. I still have the scar here. It gone pretty deep into my left hand. So that awareness, seeing the blood, suddenly brought me fully back into my body, that letting me know that things needed some attention, right? I didn't feel the physical pain in that moment because I was just so engulfed and caught up in my emotions, so caught up in that downward spiral. But seeing the blood brought me back quickly. So I went and got it stitched up. Again, still feeling like I'm watching this huge drama unfold and trying to figure out, where am I in this drama? Like, look at this mess I've created. We've got no money coming in. I've got no business. I don't know what I'm going to do. It was a huge, giant failure. And it was having a massive impact on me and on my family. And it was crushing. So that night I lay in my bed with my stitched up hand throbbing. My husband was on the couch, and I cried from a depth that I didn't even know I had. And for me, it was like that moment of complete surrender. I just threw up my hands and I said, you know what, universe, I don't know what to do. I know I don't want a 9 to 5 job that I don't like. I know I'm not this business person that I've been trying to fit into for years. Please show me, show me, show me. Give me some kind of a sign. I need something. So that was my night. And then I fell into this super, super deep sleep, dreamless sleep. I didn't move all night. And the next morning, I took my daughter to daycare, and then I went for a walk because I really needed to just clear my head and be in my own space and just be with myself. And then my phone rang, and it was a really good friend of mine. And well, the distraction from myself sounded like a really good idea at the time. So I answered the call. Now, I hadn't shared with anyone that my business had failed, or my pretend business had failed. I didn't share that I'd cut my hand. I'd kept all of this inside. So she called me and we had a conversation, and she told me about this article she just read about life coaches and how she thought I'd be a really good life coach. And as she was talking, I started to feel this tingling. I know about coaching for sports, and I knew about business coaches, but I didn't know about life coaching. So I started to feel this like excitement, and it got my attention. So, I jumped in. I studied and I taught meditation for many years prior to my 9 to 5 life. And all this stuff from my 14 years of travel had come forward again. I love personal development, passionate about helping people. I love helping people to see the bigger picture outside of their dramas. I was really good at that. So this article that she shared with me made me realize, okay, this is something I can do. So I felt that spark of hope and excitement start to awaken within me. It had really touched me on a really deep soul level. And I knew it's what I wanted to do. So I went into learning mode. But because my finances were limited, because my entire life was coming from a place of limitation and lack in that moment, I approached this new entrepreneurial journey from a scarcity mindset. So I came at everything from a firmly and deeply embedded belief in all of my circumstances of lack as being real and being where everything was going to come from. So I jumped into all the freebies that I could find. Occasionally, I bought the $27 workbook or the $19 e-course or all the cheap freebies that I could do in trying to piece together a coaching business. And I say coaching business because I love to coach, but there's also the business side of it. It's a double-sided thing. But what I didn't do was work on my belief. I didn't work on the business. And I certainly didn't get coached at that time because I couldn't afford it. That's the story I kept telling myself. So from there, we fast forward about 12 months later. So a year has gone by, and I was in the same boat as that night that my tears were hitting the keyboard for my other failed business, the exact same boat. I had a few people that I was coaching here and there, and I loved that work. I was passionate about it, but I didn't have a business. I didn't have a vision, a clear vision of where I was going. I didn't have my mission. I hadn't got in touch with that deep stuff. What I did have was mounting bills. So once again, I found myself down on the floor in the depths of this second failure. And this is two of many. And there was this moment where my husband said to me, all right, it's time to get a job. Soul crushing. Here I was staring at myself at this great big failure yet again. So I started to believe that I wasn't smart enough to be an entrepreneur. I wasn't worthy enough. I wasn't capable. I didn't have the right charisma. All these people that I saw on the internet, social media, had something I didn't have. They all had something I couldn't have. I just hadn't cracked the code. I wasn't going to be able to do it. And I started to really believe that stuff. all these deeply embedded self-limiting beliefs suddenly started to rise up and reveal themselves to me. Everything got really loud inside my own head, inside my own awareness, swirling around on the surface of my awareness, right? All of that stuff that I had buried for so long, and all of the stuff from the childhood and all the experiences I've ever had in my life suddenly came up to the surface, waiting for me to just look at them. And there was this moment that I was getting ready to go to one of these job interviews, and I really didn't want the job. And I was like, "Oh, what am I going to do if they offer it to me?" And it hit me like a punch in the gut, right? Suddenly I realized all of this, none of this was about the failures. None of this was about the things I tried. None of this was about any of that. It was all about me. And that all of these failures were just there to show me my path forward. It's like a light bulb went on in my head. So all these moments showed me where my blocks were, what my limiting beliefs were, what the stories I'd heard in childhood were that developed this internal programming that I was operating my life from still 50 years later. They were there to show me. And so there was a huge gift in all of the circumstances, in each and every single failure. And there's more than just these two, I tell you. And they were all waiting for me to stop looking on the outside, to stop looking at the social media, to stop comparing myself to others, to stop trying to be like everyone else, and to turn all of that attention inward and to dive deep, but also to take like a super high powered flashlight in there and shine it into all those cobwebby corners. I knew that I had to open that door and really look, really listen, feel with my body, feel with my energy, feel with every sense of myself, all in alignment and coherence, and drop into that messy, messy, messy space so that I could start to unravel those cords. And it's quite a journey, as I'm sure everyone here knows. I needed to be shown where I was choosing my limitations. I realized that it was a choice, and I could choose which thoughts to listen to. I could choose what I fed my body. I could choose how I enliven my energy each day and how I show up each day. I could choose success or I could choose failure. I suddenly had a choice because I was willing to go deep, deep, deep down in and look at all the programming and beliefs that was causing all of this stuff to happen. It was a huge, huge awakening for me. And it was the kind that, it makes you laugh and cry at the same time. You know what I mean? Like there's so much energy just running through you. It's like, I felt like a giant wobbly jellyfish just rolling around with these bubbles of awareness bursting all over the place. I loved it and I hated it at the same time. It was beautiful and it was hell all at the same time. So I knew that if I really wanted to be a good coach, that I actually needed to be coached, and that was going to be an investment, right? I knew I needed to believe in myself. I need to invest in myself, and I needed to work through this really deep, dark stuff that I hadn't looked at. All the stuff that I was really good at taking my clients through. I could show everyone else how to do it, but I hadn't done it for myself. So it was time. So I had to take that leap of faith, borrow the money, invest in the coach, do this work. Otherwise, I knew I was going to be repeating the same pattern over and over and over. So I know for me, out of these moments of failure, the biggest gift was there. And it was there all the time. It took me a long time to get to the core of it, to the essence, right? This is how my soul got in touch with me, to show me where I could grow, to show me where I could heal, to show me where I needed to love myself more, and also to show me how I needed to expand and open so that I could contain and receive more light, so that I could contain and receive and share more light out with everyone else that I connected with. And that's really how the claim program came about for me. My naturally present business is because I love to teach about meditation and to help people understand and be conscious and aware in their daily life, to be fully present. Excuse me. And I love nature. And so those two things came together. Through my own experience, claim came about. So the claim program is about conscious living in action, intuition, and momentum. So conscious living being that state of being the observer and awareness of all that's going on through us so that we can have choice. So what I also want to say is that, a lot of this happened in the last little while we've been in COVID, where I actually just published my very first book, which I'm very excited about, came out last week. And it's a co-authored book. So there's 11 of us women who wrote it. And I think 2 of the other speakers were on here earlier on Wednesday. It's called Rebirth, and it's the story of real women who've reinvented themselves, renewed their life force, and rose from the ashes. And so this is sort of an abridged piece of my chapter in that book. And it feels very empowering to bring not only my experience of failure to myself, but now to share that with others, and just as an invitation to know that failure is an important part of our journey in whatever way that failure looks like for us. And it's not something to be shied away from. And I know for me that going through this, I have learned that if I want something, it's a choice to take a step forward. I don't know where that step's going to land. It's going to land somewhere, and it may be successful and it may be failure, which are actually two different spectrums of the exact same thing. And that everything that happens is a success. So even my failures were a success for me because they took me to this place that I needed in order to grow and to expand and to be able to contain more love and more light, which we need on our planet at this time. And in order for me to contain and receive and expand and share that, I needed to open, open, open. And that is what the failures have given to me. So I celebrate them all, and I invite anyone else who is on the cusp of trying something new to just go for it. Take that step. Be conscious of where your mind is, be conscious of your thoughts, be conscious of your awareness, and take the step anyway. So that's what I have for you today, ladies. Thank you. And gentlemen, I see we have a gentleman here too. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you for the opportunity to be here.